Hey everyone, this is Ev, president of Impact Foundation, otherwise known as Impact Productions. I wanted to make this quick video to thank y'all for all of your support this last year and to give y'all kind of a state of the rave as we head into 2024, which, speaking of which, I can't wait to see all of y'all tomorrow for Newcores 24 to celebrate that with us, as it's our 1 year anniversary, our 501c3 relaunch, and obviously the new year. So before I get into it, I want to specifically thank everyone at the core Impact team: Alice, Sparks, Zach, Ariel, Kit, Luna, who have been the unsung heroes and backbone of this operation from the very start. Without any of them, none of this would be possible, or if it was possible, it would not be nearly as good as it is now. I also want to thank all of our fantastic flyer artists, all of our volunteers, and all of our DJs and other performers who have done, so much in order to make these shows as special as they are. And I can't go into specifics without this taking hours, but you know who you are and you know what you've done, and you should know how eternally grateful I am for your help. So this video will be broadly split into 3 parts. First, talking a little bit about myself and how I got to this point. Secondly, talking a little bit about the last year and what we've done, and the third part talking about what we're doing going forward. So without further ado, let's begin. I got into the rave scene basically much later than most, and it's a long story of how I got here, but to give you all the quick notes, I was born in Russia, actually, in Moscow, and my parents brought me over to the United States when I was less than a year old. I was raised over in Boston and spent the first 19 years of my life there. 20 years of my life there, where I really didn't do anything interesting at all until I went to college, ironically, for a business degree that I dropped out of after 2 years because I realized I was trans and a communist, so that was kind of not very compatible with business school. After dropping out, I hitchhiked and train hopped all over the country doing that crusty vagabond stuff for half of a year, and ended up landing in San Francisco for another half of the year, where I first got introduced to the rave scene, going to underground shows all over the Bay Area, but particularly in Oakland. I got some of my first shows were going to see Machine Girl, like in some guy's basement way before they ever blew up, and which is insane to me now, having gone to some of their larger stuff. So after about 6 months of living in the Bay Area, I came up to visit, and immediately got sucked into the scene here. Started going to shows at some of the old Cafe Racer, at Black Lodge, and a couple other places, and eventually, COVID hit, because this was right around summer 2019 into 2020. I was that all shut down, and I ended up moving down to farm commune 2 hours south of here in Centralia, where I spent the next 2.5 years. And during that time, I was a small part of the whole scene. I, got into DJing. I played a couple of Renegades here and there. I played a few shows down in Portland, and, started helping out with shows down there and up here eventually, and slowly learned more and more and got more and more involved, and decided that my future kind of lay up in Seattle, in the city, and not out on a farm in the middle of nowhere. So I moved back to Seattle last December and immediately got sucked into doing shows. Um, and that brings me to part two, which is what the last year has been like. But, before I get into that, I want to say, like, when I moved here to Seattle, I was literally homeless. I had nothing but the clothes on my back and what was in my backpack. And I had hopped a freight train from the Bay Area to come up here and visit. Um, and the rave scene basically took me in immediately. It didn't judge me, it didn't look at me sideways, and it accepted me even though I'm very idiosyncratic and not very good at talking with people or getting along with people. It's one of my worst traits as a promoter. Um, but it gave me a home and gave me everything that I have out here. And that's why I, jumped so quickly into it when I had the opportunity. Um, so, which brings us back to the present, or present 1 year ago. Um, so, last December when I moved back up, I was planning on having a birthday party for myself down at the farm. That was going to be a little show, have people out to play, do a little thing in the middle of winter. It didn't work out because I moved up before that could happen. It was just the best opportunity. And Alice was starting to do shows at the Comeback, and calling them Second Impact. She did her first one at the end of November, and while I missed that one, when she heard that I moved up, because we had vaguely known each other before this, she hit me up and offered to help with making my birthday party happen at the Comeback. So we, decided, like, hey, all right, sure, let's work together. And we put it together, pulled it off. It went pretty well. I mean, though not as many people showed up as I would have liked, because I think a bunch of people happened to get sick in the week leading up to that. But we ended up working well together, and as we were doing the planning for that birthday party, the owner of the Comeback offered us the chance to do New Year's there, and we were completely blown away because, like, what? We had no idea how the hell we were going to pull that off. But, we reached out to a bunch of people, particularly Flapjack, who didn't happen to have anything going on that New Year's, and managed to scramble and put together Newcores Eve in basically like 2.5 weeks or so. And for those of y'all who were there, you know how amazing and wonderful of a show was. I was completely blown away how well it went, how good it felt, and just like the energy and the happiness that it brought to so many people. And a lot of people have told me this over the past year, that show felt like basically the relaunch of the scene in Seattle, because after that, or before that, it seemed like it was in a bit of a hibernation, but after that, we were back, and oh boy, we were a big part of making that happen. So with that, show, that really immediately put us on the map because of how well it went. And because of that, we got contacted by Rob G, who had been trying to put together a show in Seattle for decades at this point, but it kept falling through for whatever reason, and they asked us to work with them in order to put together a Seattle show for him. And we were immediately like, oh shit, I guess this is real now, and that caused everything to just take off immediately, as we had to basically put together an organization from scratch in order to accommodate something that massive, just on the run, on the fly, And that's been a lot of this past year, is scrambling to put together this organization, and get everything dialed in such a way that we everything runs smoothly. Um, and it hasn't always been perfect, but I think we've definitely gotten there by now. Um, Without Newcores and without Rob G reaching out to us, which would eventually become Stompin' Core, we would have definitely not been doing anywhere near the pace or intensity or size of shows that we have been doing. Um, and those two events basically launched our organization, which is why they will always have such a special place in my heart. Um, so as that was going on, we figured we needed to build ourselves up to doing those levels of shows. So we got involved with several different groups. I mean, first of all, obviously, those of y'all who know the furry scene, I love you guys. I mean, consider myself a Therian bird for like years at this point, but I was never really involved in the furry slash con slash whatever usual scene. But y'all have been some of our most die-hard supporters, and without y'all and without this would not be as a diverse and beautiful group of ravers that we have. I joke that our crowd is 50% people with pronouns and 50% furries, and sometimes that's almost a flat circle. And just because we got into that because of a lot of y'all love EDM, a lot of y'all love raving, but I've noticed that there isn't really much of a furry rave scene outside of conventions. And I think it was Colin. Colin brought to me the idea of having Goji out for Happy Barkcore, and while that show logistically in the lead up was kind of a clusterfuck with us having to move venues at the last minute, it was such a wonderful show with such a wonderful energy, and it made people so happy that launched an entire series of shows that I call the Barkcore type shows. Howl at the Moon, K909, which featured Genki and Nonstop Pup, respectively. It's just been amazing to be able to do all of that and to include DJs from the local scene here in Seattle. Another group that we've worked a couple times with now is 909 Worldwide, and if y'all are watching this, any of y'all from that, hi. Thank you so much for, working with me. I consider 909 Worldwide to be kind of the leading edge or the future of core type music, and I'm super excited by what y'all do, and I've been super happy to work with y'all this whole time. And I'm excited to also do more with y'all in the future. The rest of y'all, stay tuned for that. And just for me personally, 909 Worldwide, Weird NXC, weird breaky core type music was what I originally got into DJing and listening to when I started raving here in Seattle and when I started DJing. So being able to do that with y'all has been absolutely amazing. And this isn't really so much of a group as specifically, but Technocore and that series of shows has shown for us there's an audience for us to do more shows than just hardcore and hard dance. I was initially very trepidatious about breaking into those scenes because they seem very saturated to me. In techno here in particular has a lot of very awesome promotions that put together amazing shows that I've had the pleasure of being able to go to sometimes. And it just, but what people have told me after we did that is they love to have the opportunity to listen to that type of music at a show that we put on with our crowd and our attitude, because they know it's, to use this term, a safe space for people who normally don't feel safe in other crowds that might be full of, obnoxious bros or whatever the hell. And that also, led into stuff like Dreampool, which Dreampool was something that I was completely like had no idea what to do with, and it was all entirely Ariel's idea and organization that made that such an amazing concept. But especially now in the winter months, it turns out that people do enjoy actually relaxing and listening to some good down-tempo ambient music and not going super hard as hell all the time. Couldn't be me. I was so confused about what to do that whole show while I was there. And, with all of that, it's been really cool to do all of these various things. Hell, we were doing almost like 6 shows a month at one point, 7 even, if you count Midweek Magic, which was a fun little, experiment, which honestly, in the long run, didn't work out so well. I don't think we had the crowd for it yet, but I do want to bring back at some point in the future as a little, weekly get-together for everyone in the scene. And also just being able to work with another group that, oh my god, I nearly forgot. I want to thank Skunky Beats and Friends and Fam for getting us involved with Summer Lovin' and, Bride of Dankenstein, respectively, and, having us be part of that. Chris, Dulce and Doughboy, all of y'all over there. I look up to y'all so much, and like being able to be part of that is, meant a lot to me. And, even though, let's say Summer Lovin' had some issues with, and it was still such a wonderful and magical event, and same with Bride of Dankenstein. It was so wonderful and awesome to be able to bring those names out here to Seattle and have a fucking killer time. So, with all of that, it's been a bit touch and go, but we've successfully made everything work for a year, which I'm really proud of. It's, when I said at the start, when this started getting serious, is if we can make this last a year, then I will have considered this a success, impact in general, no matter what happens after. And we're almost there. So unless something happens tomorrow and we all get hit by a bus, then I think Impact has been a success, 100% so far. It's made so many people happy. So many people have come up to me and given me the nod. For those of y'all who know what that means, so many people have told me that this scene in this group has changed their life, and that they would either be lonely or destitute or just even dead sometimes without what we do and like the community that we create. So I think of that all the time when things get hard and when it's hard for me to motivate myself to do stuff. And that's why I'm doing it here at the end of the day, is to give people the same home that I got when I got here. So, stop myself before I cry real quick. With all of that, I'm really excited to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary tomorrow. As I said, our relaunch is a 501c3, and the new year with y'all at Newcores 24. The 501c3 thing in particular is something that we started thinking about over the summer and got approval of like a couple months ago, and have been slowly working to transition to ever since. And it's going to be a big step in us achieving what we've always wanted to do, which is to create a sustainable rave group focused on keeping the scene alive and taking care of the community. Um, so what that means for all of y'all in the new year is it's going to be the same exciting rave action. We're going to be keep doing awesome shows. In fact, they're going to be even awesomer going forward. But there's going to be a couple of big differences. In particular, first of all, we're going to be creating a new schedule with a rotation of certain types of shows in order to create like some order to the chaos that has been our show planning process for the last year. And part of that is what y'all can expect to see is more types of music, such as what we just announced yesterday, Jacked Up, which is going to be our first D&B showcase show. And then after that, going forward, you can expect to see all kinds of other stuff. Hell, we might even do a house show at some point. God help us. Along with, being a 501c3, we'll be doing a lot of fundraising now going forward, because donations to a 501c3 are tax deductible. This will give people a way to support us and the scene, and, also get something back for it in a much more direct way. And all that new money is going to be going towards, well, first of all, obviously throwing new and exciting types of shows, but and making sure that us, doing it and making like us doing all the work and all the artists doing all the work are taken care of properly. On top of all of that, we intend to establish a grant or mutual aid system to support up and coming artists and other ravers. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, is to figure out a way to help like more directly artists in the scene and ravers. So the grant system would be able to provide, for equipment or, studio time or whatever the hell, mastering services, etc., in order to make us way more, in order to like help artists develop their crafts and develop their skills and have access to the things that they need in order to become as great as they possibly can be. And in terms of giving back to the other ravers, it's, literally just going to be a way of us to take care of those in the community who come to our shows, because, Plur is obviously one of our guiding principles, and if we don't take care of those who come to our shows, well, then what are we even doing? I'm not here to treat our people as a product, or as a source of money. It's our people are our community, they're our family, as cliche as that is to say. And I want to be able to give back to them when they need it, because they give so much to this scene, even just by showing up. Another exciting thing that y'all can expect from us is a label arm. Now, this has been something I've been working on for almost a year, but it keeps not happening for various reasons, because a couple of people have tried to start working on it for me and then have dropped out, and it's a long story. But we're finally in a position where we can launch that. So any y'all producers out there, if you're interested in signing with Impact Records, coming soon, TM, expect to see that announced properly within the next month or so, along with our first compilation album that we will be releasing as part of that. That will be offering anything and everything, distribution, up to full management services for artists who are seeking to, have their career take off. And I'm really excited to have Kit taking the lead on that, who I'm sure you'll all get to know better soon. And obviously, as some of y'all may have already noticed, we're going to have a whole new brand identity and redesign as part of our relaunch as a 501c3. And along with that, that means new merch. So if you like the currently existing merch, get it while you can, because it's going to be discontinued pretty soon. And then you'll be able to say you have the OG original Impact vintage merch 10 years from now, whenever we become the non-profit transgender insomniac. That is a joke, for the record. I have no intention of becoming that. But yeah, that's more or less all of it that I can say right now. There's a lot more exciting things coming down the pipe, but that are either not confirmed or not ready enough for me to share with y'all. But just to wrap it all up, I'm so honored that y'all have trusted me in doing this and allowed me to, continue doing this. I really do it all for everyone here in the scene, and just I don't even have the words. The trust that y'all put into me, and the amount of care and dedication that y'all show to us and our organization means the world to me, and I could have never done it without all of that. I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am now without all of you. So I really hope that y'all will continue to let us make an impact and unite in 2024. And I'll see y'all tomorrow at Newcores 24. It's gonna fucking bang. Peace.